Hey, welcome back to another episode of ACLU on the Hill. We're coming to you virtual today, and I'm joined by ACLU's Director of Campaigns, Nikila Venugopal, who's here to tell us about some of the voting rights bills that we're facing up at the Utah Capitol. Let's start with a bill, Nikila, that we're working on. We're trying to make it better. HB 313 from Representative John Hawkins. It's called Election Security Amendments. Can you tell us a little bit about this bill?
Sure. So this bill, when it first came out, I won't lie, we had a lot of concerns about. It had a lot of provisions that, frankly, as the ACLU, we had some constitutional concerns about in terms of equal protection, equal access for all voters. And in the original version of this bill, it seemed to sort of throw cold water on our growing voter participation trends in Utah. With some things like increased restrictions on voter ID, some sort of burdens placed on counties in terms of placing 24-hour surveillance cameras on ballot drop boxes, and kind of overall, would have impacted voters with disabilities, elderly voters, rural voters, young voters pretty negatively. And so we were able to reach out to the sponsor. We were able to sort of work on this a little bit. And I think a lot of groups reached out and voiced their concerns about this bill as well. We've actually seen some substitutes, which passed this morning. We saw a substitute for this bill pass in committee that addressed a good amount of our concerns. So we're feeling like this is in a better place now.
Gotcha. So HB 313 was a bill that started off with adding a lot more roadblocks, a lot more paperwork, ID requirements to keep people away from exercising the right to vote, just making it more difficult. You're able to chip away at those. The bill's looking better, but we're still not able to support this bill. Is that right?
We're kind of just in a watching and monitoring pattern right now. I think where this bill is, that we were able to address a good amount of the concerns that we had originally. And the version that's out now, the second substitute, is one that we're kind of just monitoring to see how it passes through the House and sort of the conversation that it brings up around voter access, and making sure that what ends up actually passing doesn't, in fact, place big barriers in front of, a lot of voters that we have.
That's right, because at the ACLU, we want to see voting being safe, accessible, and just something that everyone can exercise that's eligible. It's important to lower those barriers. Let's talk about another bill, a bill that you've actually been working on through a coalition of organizations to try to actually make voting a little bit better and actually reduce the hiccups that happen when people do mail-in ballots. Can you tell us about HB 188 from Representative Steve Eliasson?
Yeah, totally. So this is a really great bill. This is a bill that we've been waiting a little while to see start making some progress, and we're excited to see that bill make it through the House, and it's on its way to the Senate right now. So this, like you said, addresses how we vote by mail. What's really cool in Utah is that we're a state that has vote by mail currently accessible for everybody. It is safe, secure, easy, convenient. I think something like 94% of Utahns use it, like it. And we're always here in Utah. What's really great is that our election officials are always working to make things more accessible and to make sure our systems are working really well. So we are addressing, a small little tweak here that we hope will just make voters feel even more secure that their vote is counted. So when you sign your ballot, your signature on your ballot is going to be compared by the county clerk to whatever signature they have on file for you on their voter registration roll. And that's kind of how they just do a little check to make sure that, you are the person who is actually voting on your mail ballot. The system works pretty well for a lot of people. Occasionally, however, people will have their ballots rejected because a clerk looks at the signature and thinks that it doesn't quite match up. And in most of the cases, when this happens, it's just because a lot of us, our signatures change from year to year or even day to day. I know I don't sign things consistently. And especially for voters who might have disabilities, elderly voters, this can really be sort of an accessibility issue because their signatures are changing quite a bit, or, they're not actually able to sort of sign their ballot in one way. And so this bill just makes sure that if that happens, if you're one of those voters where your ballot gets initially rejected, you have a lot of opportunity to what's called cure your ballot. Your county clerk will reach out to you via a lot of different methods to make sure they get in touch with you, say, hey, there was an issue. Let's just confirm that this was you, and then that your vote will be counted. So this is just a good chance to make sure that our democracy is robust, that nobody's falling through the cracks.
Great. A good, smart cleanup bill that actually reduces the barriers to votes not being counted, to make sure that when people send that ballot in, if their signature is just a little bit off, it's still a way that that ballot can get counted and people can rest assured. That's great. And neat that this coalition has been working on it. Also a good reminder that I should not sign my ballots Bart Simpson from now on. I will avoid that based on what I just learned today.
Consistency is key.
Let's wrap up with a bill that doesn't have a lot of, let's say, redeeming qualities. That would be HB 371 from Representative Phil Lyman, innocuously called voting revisions. But this bill does a little bit more than revise stuff. What does Representative Lyman's bill do?
Yeah, this bill is more of taking a sledgehammer to our current election systems. So this bill is one we have a lot of concerns about that we will be, pretty strongly opposing. Basically, this bill would get rid of, our ability to vote by mail in Utah for almost everybody. This is really concerning because vote by mail has been proven to be safe, effective, convenient, particularly important for voters in the midst of a pandemic. And we like it and we're using it. So this is what Utahns use, what we're used to. And to boot, this bill would probably cost counties and the state millions and millions of dollars because we'd have to go all the way back to just in-person voting. And that would be a huge change. The other concerning element to this bill is that it would really prevent voter registration drives from being possible. So, I think that for a robust democracy, we want as many voices as possible to be heard. And one thing that we can be proud of here in Utah is that we are seeing voter participation, civic engagement rates increase, especially since we've implemented reforms like vote by mail. So really just, decreasing voter registration, really making it harder for a lot of voters to, access the ballot box. Those are just sort of our top two concerns, but there's sort of a laundry list of
it gets rid of drop boxes, right? And it gets rid of election day registration, early voting. It really brings us back to, almost a medieval system of voting, it seems like, right? Where you can only vote on election day. This would be going backwards
for sure. Yeah, this would be taking Utah backwards. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And I think to most voters who say, let's keep improving our elections and, not going back in time.
So thankfully, this bill is still stuck in the Rules Committee, the Gatekeeper Committee. But if it were to come out and get a committee hearing, I presume that this is a bill that we and others would seek to oppose.
You bet. Yep. You'll see us oppose this. You'll see us, talking a lot about why we like the way our elections work now. And you'll probably see us in that committee hearing if it gets there, speaking up against it.
So whether or not HB 371 makes it out, or if people are interested in any of the other bills that we've discussed, how can people get engaged with protecting the voting reforms and the way we vote here in Utah? I hear there's a campaign, a new effort that ACLU and other groups are putting together.
Totally. So that's a great question. We really need people to speak up and get involved because right now, it can be harder to get people to speak up when we're talking about things that we like and things that are fine. We like our elections. They work well. But the people who think that things are going fine, which is most Utahns, 94% of Utahns do vote by mail, use these systems, like them. We are actually the ones that need to speak up and say, hey, don't mess with our vote, don't mess with our election systems. So we have a petition that we're working on with a whole coalition of partner organizations. What's really cool is that if you sign the petition, you're not only just putting your name on something, we're going to automatically send a postcard on your behalf to your representatives. So we're going to kind of try to double your impact, make sure that they actually see that you as an individual constituent signed the petition, sent them a postcard, and they're going to hear from you. So you can check out that petition on our website. We'll link it. You can also
throw out the QR code so everyone
exactly.
can see it.
Yep. You can also go to letutahvote.org to check it out as well.
And just like for mail-in ballots, we take care of the postage, right? Don't even have to worry about sending it.
Exactly. No stamp, no problem. We'll do it for you.
A great slogan. All right. Well, Nikila, thank you for walking us through these three very important voting bills that are currently pending at the Utah Legislature.